Hi, I'm Randy Wooden, and welcome to another in our Edge Library series. Today we'll talk networking. We all know we need to do it. We don't always do it that well. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to be a good networker. Now, first of all, by definition, let's talk definition first of all. Networking, at least to me anyway, is the ability to get names of additional people, ideally to be able to speak with those people and to have the person that connected us provide that warm intro or warm lead. Networking is not asking someone to connect me with someone who might be able to hire me. The reason is we all know that's so unlikely that you'll get the word no probably 99.9% of the time. So how do you go about networking? Let's talk about that. There are many facets of it. We'll touch on a few in this segment, and then we'll get to some more in other segments. Networking. If you're looking at changing jobs, I think one of the first things you want to do if you're approaching someone, and we can sort of role play this a little bit, is to ask for time, if they have some time to talk, and then be upfront with them that you are in a job hunt. It's just, to me, it's very disingenuous for someone to say, well, Randy, I really want to talk to you a little bit, maybe get some ideas about things, and I'm not really looking for a job, I'm really looking for some contacts, and that's all well and good, but buddy, get to the point. Let me know why you want my time. So it would be, I'm in a job hunt, I'm at a bit of a fork in the road as I decide whether to maybe try to stay in my field or look at maybe doing something slightly different, maybe transferring those skills somewhere else. And I just feel lost if I spend my time answering ads online. I think we all know networking is the way to go. And so it's been with that in mind that I wanted to contact people like you and bounce some ideas and questions off you. And even though you may not know of openings, you still may be of some help to me. And I'd like to at least explore that if that's okay with you. And ask for their permission. And if it's time, great. If now's not a good time to talk, then carve out a time that might be better for them. So you're right up front with people. You're in a job hunt, a bit of a fork in the road, and that you realize they may not know of openings, but yet they still could be of help to you. And they say, well, fine. How can I help you? Now, just as a brief aside here, you and I both know that at the front of their mind, they're waiting for old Randy here to ask the question of, do you know of any openings? Do you know anybody that might be able to hire me? Do you know anybody I ought to be talking to? And as soon as I ask a question, the question could be, is it going to rain tomorrow? And their answer is going to be, gosh, Randy, I don't know anybody. If I think of somebody, I'll call you. So understanding that, what I don't want to do is to box them in to where they're going to feel bad about having to say, no, I can't help you. I don't know of any openings. Let's back up a little bit then. How do we get into that conversation and steer them away, hopefully, from that, no, I can't help you? Here's a way that I found to be useful in doing that, and you may have your own thoughts and ideas, and I'm certainly, I've been exposed to a number of these over the years. This one seems to work pretty well, and it's sort of to tell a little narrative, a little story. So let's go back into the role play for a moment. You've indicated if you're at a fork in the road looking at some changes, maybe staying where you are industry-wise, maybe leaving, going somewhere else, and you wanted to bounce some ideas off them, maybe get some feedback. And they say, great, how can I help you? Well, if you don't know much about what they do for a living, I think it's probably a good idea to ask them a little bit about their business. I would hope you'd know something going in, and again, if you look back to our other Edge Library segment on the networking with whom, you would know what criteria goes into someone making one of your lists. So let's assume they're on the list. They say, how can I help you? I say, well, I'd like to ask you maybe a couple of questions about what you do and that sort of thing, a little small talk. And then I think it's okay for you to say, let's say John, for example. Say, John, I'd like to, if I could, paint a scenario for you. I'd like to run something by you. He'll say, what's that? Well, now let's assume this fellow is on your A list. He's made your A list. So he's somebody who is in a position, title-wise, to possibly be able to hire you. Typically, A-list people respond to their ego, be one way to look at it, and they respond to and feel as though they are big-picture sort of folks. So what I might say is, well, John, let's say you were in the midst of some projects, you had some ideas maybe for creating a new product line, new business, you had a new idea for marketing, something that was pretty cool, and what you wanted to do was to bounce those ideas off somebody that you trust. If you were in that situation, who might be a couple of those people you would think to call on for their advice and feedback? Because they also might be a good resource for me. You never know, but I'd sure like to try it. And then be quiet and let them talk. They may answer you with, I don't know, nobody comes to mind. They might say, I don't know, let me think about that for a little bit. They might say, I've got a person or two that I would probably call on. I don't know what they'll tell you, but I will say this. When they respond with the inevitable, well, Randy, I just can't think of anybody right now, you better have an answer for them. Because what they're really answering is not what you asked them. They're answering the perceived question of, do you know anybody who's hiring? All I asked them was if they wanted some business input from people they know and trust, who would they speak with? You know, and I know, that they know someone. So what you've got to do then is find a way around the I don't know anyone hurdle. And here's how you might want to go about that. First of all, you want to thank them. Maybe even slightly apologize for having put them on the spot. But again, you've asked their permission to do this. So you really shouldn't feel awkward about it. They've said, sure, how can I help you? What I will do at that point is to say, well, it's funny, I've had this conversation with some other people, and in the course of our talks, they sort of responded the same way you did. And after we talked a little more, it became evident that I had maybe not done a great job of communicating my interest, my desire, that sort of thing. And it wasn't so much that I was looking for people who could ultimately hire me. I wanted good business contacts because I don't know where that's going to lead me. And the response I got back was, well, Randy, if that's all you need, then yeah, certainly I can help you with that. That's not a problem. And usually at that point you moved on. So let me ask you again, if you were in that situation where you wanted that feedback, who might be a couple people you might think to give a call to? Not always, but for the most part, that will tend to turn things around and you will get some feedback from them. Now let's look at your B-list people. That's the majority of the people out in the workforce. B-list people, rightly or wrongly, for the most part, many of them respond and react to fear of loss, versus the A-list look to expectation of gain and how can we move forward, big picture sort of thing. B-list people are, and again, this is painting with a broad brush, you're looking at that cubicle mentality of, oh boy, you know what, my job's in jeopardy. And we've all been there. We've all, for the most part, been in a situation where we felt like we might lose our job, or we have lost our job, and it's not pretty. So if you're talking to someone you perceive to be a B-list person, and you're at that point where you say, well, could I paint a scenario for you? Here's the scenario that tends to work better for those folks. And it would be simply this. It would be to say, again, John, if your boss called you in and said, hey, better get your resume up to date, our contract's about to expire, or just got a call from corporate and there's going to be some changes coming up, just thought I'd give you a heads up. At that point, you'll probably go back to your office, you'll get on the phone, you'll call your significant other or somebody close to you, and you'll say, holy cow, you won't believe what just happened to me. After that, you'll probably think of 2 or 3 people to call. Those people might also be a good resource for me, and I'd like to talk with them. Can you help me? And then be quiet and let them talk. And if they come back with that, I don't know anybody, then you give them the answer that I had just given you a few moments ago. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time you'll generate a name or 2 or 3 as a result of that. There are other ways to go about this. I've found this to be an effective way. Now, once they have given you a name, now the next question becomes, what do I do with it? How do I parlay them giving me the name into the next step? And that's where we're going to take a time out. We have another Edge Library segment that will address that. Thanks for watching.